Welcome to Living on the Ocean. This is episode 2, Stuck in the Middle of the Atlantic. Having stopped at the Canaries, where we fixed our autopilot that's now doing a great job to steer for us. We named her Rinky Dink. And Rinky Dink has done an awesome job for us, as you will see in the rest of this series. Just before we left, there was a tremendous amount of shopping to put away. The eggs, the cookies, fruit, chocolate, anything you can imagine that we need for maybe the next 4, 5 and maybe 6 weeks on the ocean. Many bags came on board in the Canaries, and it took quite a while before we had everything taken out of its unnecessary paper wrappings, which we didn't need to take with us and which we all disposed of before we left the Canaries. And then next to food we need to drink about 5 liters for the 2 of us every day, so at least 50 bottles of water, and hope we can catch some rainwater and use salt water wherever possible in cooking. Lots of fruit that goes into the netting, bananas that won't last very long, but when they're green at least they did for a little bit of time. And lots of apples. Apples stay good all the time. And now Rinky Dink, our autopilot, is steering. I have my hands free to do some other jobs on the boat. Our outboard, which hangs in a bun that can be reached from the back cabin, needs to have something to close it. So I need to make edges in which we can slide some kind of a door and laminate it all in place while sailing. This was quite an interesting job to do, which worked out all quite well. I was very happy I got that job done. Going to the ocean, at least that compartment could now be closed from water coming into the back cabin. Less happy were my hands. All the work with the sandpaper and the chemicals and constant being wet in salt water made the skin come off my fingers. But the necessary repair work was done, and now it was time to enjoy the sailing, enjoy the ocean. Inside our boat, from where we have a great view around us, everything had a place, everything was tidied up, nothing to see from all the bags and bags of shopping. Fruit nicely away and out of the sun with towels. In the mornings we many times find squid on our deck. We use it to fish with or eat it. It's the favorite food of dolphins as well. We can hear the sound of the dolphins, a high squeaking noise inside our boat, and know when to go outside when we hear that noise. And there they are. Cheryl spent hours sitting on front of the boat taking fantastic pictures like this. It takes your breath away to sit there and to see them swim that close by, and it's such a privilege to be in a situation to do this. We cannot film it, but in the night they come as well, and many times the sea has fluorescent algae in it, which makes the dolphins light up like torpedoes going to the water. And then we can see what they do. It's not just playing. They hang in front of our boat till there's other lights in the water showing up in front of the boat, fish. And because of the fluorescent algae, we can follow them from a distance, and we see them go like torpedoes to the water, attacking those fish from 2 sides. They're using our boat as a kind of camouflage so the fish doesn't see them come. I'm convinced of it now. I've seen it so many times. They might be playing, they might be riding a bow wave, they may enjoy meeting people, but basically they're just very clever hunters that use us. But it's always fun when they come to our boat, and you never get enough of watching them, taking pictures of them, and so often you feel like jumping in with them, which I've never done. I find them also fascinating for the way their bodies are made, the speed with which they can go to the water. They seem to go effortlessly through it. Well, I know when we want to push a boat to the water, it takes so much force. They just slide through it with great speed, and they roll over, they look at us, and then they all next to each other show off and jump out of the water. Those animals belong in this ocean, and I personally think it's wrong to keep them in a zoo. The days passed by very fast. Before we know it, there's another beautiful sunset. And then it goes dark. And I try to film some of the stars, but it doesn't work with my camera. We keep a lookout for other boats and check the sails and the things around the boat. Before we know it, there's dawn, there's sunrise, there's the new colors, there's the new day. I love to keep on doing this. Over the ocean, day in, day out. In the morning, we find new creatures on the boat. We're so far south now, we're finding flying fish. Their fins on the side are so big, they can glide on them. Much farther than I always thought. It's not just a little jump, but they can really make a big distance over the waves and steer. But especially in the night, they seem to be landing on the boat sometimes, really shocking us when we all of a sudden hear a lot of flapping noises. And we definitely would not be the first one that has one coming in his face or against his body. We find them partly dried up on the boat, and we use them for fishing, or we eat them ourselves in the morning for breakfast. We're getting farther and farther west, and sometimes there isn't that much wind, so we put up a little spinnaker. We're enjoying our trip so much. We're coming now to the middle of the Atlantic Ocean on our way to the Caribbean, having no idea yet how difficult it will become to find a place where we can get water and food. This strange piece of equipment is new for many of you, but this is our solar cooker and we already use it for more than 1.5 years. It works great, and we will come back on it in another episode. Being in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, we're basically more than 1,000 miles away from land in both directions. I feel happy here, much happier than near the coast where I have to watch out for rocks and a lot of other boats. Here it's time to make a picture of both of us on our trip to the Caribbean. About 10 more sunsets to go, just following them, just always towards the west, and always in the morning. New creatures on the boat, flying fish again, but a species I've never seen, with colors that I've never seen. I did not even know there were different kinds of flying fish. So if you know more about them, feel free to comment and inform us more about this wonderful creature. Some of them are less happy. They fly against our windows. Maybe they saw the light inside and they dry up on the outside. So it's time to get the fishing reel working. It's time to use them for bait. And not long after that, we have tuna. Nice tuna. There were so many under the boat that we could have filled a bucket. But I'm a strong believer of not taking more than you really need. And more than 2 of those we could never eat. They tasted great. Cheryl did a great job putting them in the solar cooker. And another day goes by as we get closer to the Caribbean. Our boat is not filled with electronics. We have a simple handheld InReach Explorer which communicates by satellite, so we can send text messages from the middle of the ocean, but it also is a perfect navigation system for us. And it sends out a track so people can follow where we are. Using this device, we learned that more and more countries in the Caribbean are closing because of the COVID-19 virus. So I start using it to start sending emails and SMS to countries in the Caribbean to request a place to stop, to rest, to repair, to get food and water. With that, I send them my track so they can see where I come from. So emails go to Bonaire, Curacao, Bahamas, Barbados, Antigua, Sint Maarten, enough islands for one of them to help us out. I'm expecting to hear something positive soon, because they can see our track and they can see how long we have been on the ocean. We cannot have the coronavirus. And so we continue sailing. We use the nice days to stop for a while, to heave the boat to in a very funny way which seems to work for our boat, and take pictures and check the rudder system. The first question people give you when you've crossed an ocean is normally, how many days did it take you to get to the other side? It surprises me. It's not, was it fun? Was it enjoyable? What did you do? But how fast could you get to the other side? Like you went to a restaurant and the most important thing is how fast you can get that food inside and get out of the restaurant again. No, going to the ocean, according to me, is go there and enjoy it. Trust your boat, trust your skills. Especially those days with good weather forecasts. Enjoy the ocean when you can. It is such a unique part of our world. It's such a wonderful place to be in. And a place where we can really find ourselves, where there's time to think, where there's no pressure. where actually the clock doesn't really worry you except for navigation, but where you live from the sunrise till the sunset. We're now in such warm waters that we can see sargassum seaweed floating in the surface. It's not come loose from the bottom, but it is a platonic seaweed that floats freely in the ocean, and it can make huge covered areas. We've seen pieces only as big maybe as a blanket floating by, but it's an interesting organism and lots of animals live in it and from it. Rinky Dink has done a great job steering us so far, but it's also fun to steer myself and to enjoy those beautiful days and sit out there with a cup of coffee and steer my boat on the ocean. This is what I'm doing it for. This is so enjoyable. More and more of the sargassum seaweed comes, and I'm trying as good as I can to get a good shot of it, but because the boat moves and the sargassum weed moves on the top of the waves, it's very hard to get a sharp picture of it. There's a big piece, but you can see the camera struggling to focus on it. It's almost like it's an animal, a big sea ray swimming in the ocean. Some boats have a real problem getting through it because it can be so much at certain parts. You see it mostly in tropical waters and near reefs. So many fish live underneath it and little animals live inside of it. I've even heard it's possible to eat small amounts of it. As far as I understood, it's also protected. You're not allowed to catch it because it's very important for the ecological system of the ocean. Being in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean on something that you built yourself and enjoy all the beauty of the colors and the blue and the plants and the dolphins is something that makes it very unique, and the days pass faster than I really want to. But as the day passed, I'm starting to realize there's no answer coming back on any of our emails, on any of our sent SMSs to all those countries. The only thing that comes back is a message from a personal friend that's personally went to talk to the harbour master on one of the former Dutch islands in the Caribbean. But the harbour master simply replies, let the guy go home. Like you just turn the rudder and sail from the middle of the Atlantic to the Netherlands. This cannot be true. They cannot just leave us out here. We need water. We need food. We don't have that much more. What are we gonna do? And slowly, the enjoyment of being on the ocean and enjoying a boat becomes a worry. The days pass and there's no answer again and no answer again. Now I'm getting seriously worried. We have about 2, maximum if we stretch it, 3 weeks more that we could live on a boat by what we have. And we have a week more to sail before we are there. On the Canaries I picked up an email with a list from sailors helping other sailors out that got stuck in this corona crisis. And I go to the list that's on there and send all those people also emails or SMS. Out of that list, one person responds, a fellow sailor that's on Antigua, that contacts the authorities for us in St. Martin, since we have a Dutch flag, and we are being requested to send all our information to St. Martin by little bits of email. He joins it together for us to one big email and sends it off, and we think everything will be okay. Little did we know. 3 more days pass, and I decided it's too risky to continue on to the Caribbean. If they not even want to answer our emails and SMS, not even answer on direct sent emails by others, we will be running out of food there. I've been on Bermuda before, and I decide it's another 1,000 miles. We have enough food to go up north. I can see with my reach that the beginning of the weather will be good. But farther up north, looks like I will get in problems. And I get confirmation from a friend who studies weather as a hobby and lives on his boat in the Algarve. He sends me a warning that it will be quite rough up there and probably I will get very strong winds on my nose. So actually, Bermuda is no option at all. But not being able to stop and get water and food is no option either. And I turn the rudder and head north. After 3 hours, Dave, the man from Antigua that contacted the authorities for us on St. Martin, sends me a text. How are we doing and why are we going north? I explain to text that I don't believe we will get a place over there, that nobody is responding to us. Dave says he will do his best again to contact them, but I have not much hope in that. But still, I decide for some reason to believe him, and I steer west again. Hours pass by, and Dave sends us a text message that he's personally sent them a very strong email saying that they have an obligation under maritime law to provide safe haven as a Dutch island to a Dutch vessel. I learned from him that many other boats are in trouble and can't get where they want to be and cannot go where they need to go. That actually it's become a big problem in the West Indies, in the Caribbean, for boats and for people living on boats, and that a lot of people are stuck, not knowing where to go. We keep on sailing west that day, and by the evening at 12 o'clock the email comes in, and as I say this it still makes me sentimental. That email, that's from the authorities in St. Martin, that said that they would provide a safe haven, made our day. Thank you, Dave Ross. You did a lot for us and a lot for others. You've been an amazing man to get to know, only to email. We never got a chance to meet in real life, and I hope that day will come. It's 3 more days before we will reach St. Martin. But we're enjoying it again. The sunsets are beautiful, the sunrises are nice, the wind is good. As my friend said, it's a walk to a park to get to St. Martin now. It'd be nice to know if we would be in quarantine. But on the other side, we're not worried too much. All we want now is a place where we can drop an anchor.
Okay, great, let me look.
And there it is in the distance, St. Martin, the island that provides a safe haven in the time of Corona in 2020, when we crossed the Atlantic, left lockdown situation in Portugal an hour before the borders closed. Our plan to sail to the Caribbean one day, just for a rum coke, and sail back, seems to become reality in a complete different way than we expected. As we come into the bay of St. Philipsburg, the maritime police comes out with flashing blue lights, and we worry for a moment that they're gonna scare us away again like it happened in the Canary Islands. But after some short talk, when they figure out who we are and some checking from their side, we're being sent to a beautiful spot to anchor, and they're very helpful. We are so happy. We are in St. Martin. We're so happy we can drop our anchor. Even when we're in quarantine here, we're allowed to swim in this beautiful turquoise water. We can wait here till they allow us to do shopping. We hope they would not keep us in quarantine long, since we can prove with a satellite track where we come from, and since we have been already for so many weeks on the ocean. We were allowed to swim next to the boat, and that made the waiting very easy, but we had no idea that it was gonna take such a long time. Our neighbors brought us rum coke after hearing part of our story. One day I was in a bar, talking to another sailor, saying how much I liked to cross the ocean and that it was okay to cross the ocean to the Caribbean, just for rum coke and sail back. He looked at me like I was crazy, and said, I understand why you're sailing solo. No woman is gonna cross the Atlantic Ocean with you all the way to the Caribbean just for a rum coke and sail back. Cheryl stopped making her cocktail, looked up from behind the bar at both of us and said, I will do that.